I still have one more episode of our summer travels to put out, but I didn't want to delay too long before giving you an update on the new refrigerator. I'm going to cover some helpful suggestions from viewers. I'm going to cover some maintenance and repairs that we've done since we got home, and also answer 2 viewer questions. A lot of you want to know how the new refrigerator is working out. It's been great. And I know that because I use the sensor push to monitor the temperature. I have kind of rotated it between the freezer and the refrigerator to see how it holds the temperature, and it does really well. I like the sensor push because you can download the data and look at it minute by minute or in whatever intervals you want. And so I'm just really pleased. At the coldest setting, the refrigerator goes to about 31 and the freezer to about 10. At the next notch down, it holds between 37 and 40, and the freezer is at about 15 or 16. So that's probably as cold as the freezer is going to get. But I also want to say that's without any food in it. The refrigerator is empty, and so when it has food in it, it will probably be even more consistent in holding temperature. Now, I also left the video on the install with that wire hanging out, and because we didn't know how to install this device that's supposed to help make sure the refrigerator uses as little energy as possible. So I called the company, the Isotherm owners, is it Webasto something or other? Anyway, I called them, they're down in Florida, and spoke to a guy named Brandon who was really helpful, and he said that that device we bought actually does not work on that refrigerator. It's for some of the older models. I think the new refrigerator, which has been out a couple of years, has incorporated some of the things from that device. So I've taken the wire out, and we're good on that. Now, as far as some of the other issues that Pleasureway had brought to my attention before we installed it, they want to make sure that when you install a refrigerator that you're not going to get water in through those vents that could come into your coach, because they're really careful about putting seals around the refrigerator and caulking it and all of that. I will be caulking around the areas where I had to move the shelf and broke that seal with the caulk. I'm not terribly worried about water getting in through those vents. We live in the West. Usually when it's raining really hard, we are not driving. And frankly, over the last 3 years we've had this rig, we have not noticed any amount of moisture in that compartment. But we will monitor it, and I'm kind of thinking that if it's really bad, maybe I could make like a little raincoat for those vents to cover it up. I think dust is probably more of an issue than rain. I also want to say that a number of you pointed out that you should not use tape when you use a flare plug. So the flare plug should go on there without any tape whatsoever. So we will be closing off that, we will be removing that, but before you remove it, you have to turn off the gas and deplete the line and then remove the plug. And that was another thing Pleasureway wanted to make sure we did, which was so if you're going to cover those vents, you want to leave at least a 2-inch hole so that if any gas leaks out of that tube, then it would have a place to go. But of course, the new refrigerator requires circulation, and so we are going to use those existing vents to exit any kind of hot air or whatever. And I've also stuck, just temporarily, I put a one of those minimum maximum thermometers in that compartment so that I can kind of see, well, how hot does it get? We're expecting another heat wave this weekend. I want to see how warm it gets in there. And I will monitor the temperature in the fridge at the same time. Everyone wants to know how much power this uses. It's hard for me to tell you because we have solar panels. And at 6 a.m. before the sun comes up, we would be down to 92%. But by 7:30 a.m., with just a small amount of solar, we're back to 100%. So it looks like we can go indefinitely. I really won't know in the wintertime until we've experienced a winter, but I will let you know. Several people have asked where we purchased that refrigerator. It was from a company back east called Defender and it's their website is defender.com, so you can check that out. It was also kind of funny that George at Humble Road this past week did kind of revisited some of the older projects that he'd worked on, and the refrigerator in particular, because he had not finished it. And he did mention that he plans to use an isotherm refrigerator when he does reinstall it. So I'm going to keep my eye out for that video, although I know it may be quite a while. On the summer trip, we had a lot of issues with our propane. It would work and then it wouldn't work. And we thought we had it solved in Colorado when the technician came out and did a few things to it. While we were on the road, we ordered a new regulator because this has been in the back of my mind for a long time. A lot of you have said it's probably the regulator, and you were absolutely right. And so we took it into our dealer who replaced the regulator. He said it's quite common for oil to contaminate the regulator. It comes from the people who are actually filling it. It comes from their tanks. And apparently it's especially a problem in northern climates where it's colder and you have more of the condensation and that kind of an issue. One viewer said that they were told by a technician to not let your propane get lower than 50% before you refill it. And then I had heard before that not to let it go lower than 20%. So if any of you guys have any more comments about that, if you want to weigh in on the debate, please put your comments below because I'd love to see what you have to say. Now, as soon as we had the regulator installed, I also ordered another one. Because this is such a common problem, I want to have the right regulator with us whenever we're traveling. And I suggest that you find out what kind of regulator you have in your rig and carry an extra. They're not very expensive. It was like $30 or $40, but it's just not likely that a technician on the road is going to be able to find that regulator and get it to you in time. So it's a good thing to carry along. While we were in having the regulator replaced, I asked if they would change the oil in the generator because Mark and Susie down in Carlsbad in the San Diego area said that the oil in the generator is supposed to be replaced every year. But then he told me that the technician didn't change his oil because it needs to have 35 to 40 hours of runtime on it before they change the oil. So that's another thing. If some of you guys have more information on that, if that's what you've been led to believe, please let me know in the comments below. I know that we've been remiss in running the generator, and that's largely because we don't need it and it's really noisy. So we don't like to disturb anybody, whether it's our neighbors here at home or whether we're in a campground. So I'm always looking for, for boondocking somewhere, if we're out away from people, that's where I will try to run the generator. But it was also ironic that just this last week I got an email from Brad in Vancouver, Canada, and he sent me the link to a video of somebody who's demonstrating something called a resonator. I guess it's like a muffler for your generator. And it's just this it looks like a muffler, and you just stick it on the pipe, and it was amazing how much it reduced the decibels on that thing. But then a few days later, we were watching our YouTube subscriptions, and the Fit RV had posted a video where they were comparing a brand new generator that has come out to the one that we have, which I think is an Onan something or other. And it had been fitted with one of these resonators. And this new generator was a lot quieter even than the Onan with the resonator on it. They also pointed out that there are actually rules in national parks about the decibel level of your generator, which I was not aware of. It sounds like the generator on our rig exceeds the decibels that some of the national parks have for the maximum. Although I've never seen anybody going around with a decibel meter monitoring how noisy somebody's generator is. Although I wish they would sometimes. I'll put a link to both of those videos in the description box below this video. We had one more repair that we had to do on the van, and you will see it, well, I'm not going to show you the repair next week, but you will see what happened next week when we got another rock into our windshield. And so we are now on windshield number 4. We use Safelite. Each time we've had the windshield replaced, it's been Safelite. And that is the one even that the Mercedes dealer recommended to us. Even though it doesn't say it's a Mercedes windshield, it basically is the same thing at a fraction of the cost that Mercedes charges. But our insurance company sends us to Safelite. After the first time our windshield was broken, we changed our insurance policy so that we had zero deductible on a windshield. Now, the one thing it will not cover is if you put the coating on your windshield that reduces the heat gain in your cab like we do. It's a film that you actually can't even see that it's on there. You only notice it if you're wearing Polaroid sunglasses. And so, by the way, I bought a pair of non-polarized sunglasses so I don't see this kind of a rainbow effect on the windshield. But this coating really helps with reducing the heat gain in the cab. And it's not covered by insurance because it's technically not legal in our state. It may be in yours, but it's not in ours. So our insurance doesn't pay for that, which is about, I think it was $140 to have that redone. But we really like having it, even though I have to get a cheap pair of sunglasses so I don't see the rainbows. One more comment I received this week was from Barbara Dickey, who pointed out that she had the same harness, seatbelt harness wiring problem that we had where it got severed underneath the passenger seat. And she took it into Mercedes, and they said that a new wire harness would be $400. So she said that she and either her son or her husband were going to follow what we had done with our repair and fix that. That was another repair, by the way, by our neighbor Bruce, who is very helpful in things like that. But last week, our neighbors took ownership of I think it's a 2016 Road Trek CS Adventurous. And we went over to take a look at it, and I looked underneath the passenger seat, and it was also severed. They did not, I don't think they knew it, but Bruce said he would go over and help them as well. Anyway, it seems to be something that's quite common, so you might want to check underneath your seat to make sure it's not severed, and to make sure that you have done something with the wires under there so that they won't accidentally get caught in that swivel mechanism and get cut. The last thing I want to do is answer two questions that I get fairly often. The first one is about camping in California. People want me to recommend campgrounds for them. I know the Eastern Sierra pretty darn well, but if you want to know about California and Oregon, then I really recommend that you go to the YouTube channel, Travel, I always have to look at it, Travel Small, Live Big. This woman, who's also a viewer, has done a great job on tons of campgrounds in California and Oregon, reviews of them, she'll tell you everything about their resources and all of that. And she's also done some itineraries, like an itinerary for a week in Southern California. So go to her website and check that out and bookmark it. So if you're traveling in California, you could use that to figure out where you want to camp. That's all I have this week. Next week we'll finish out. We'll bring the horses back to the barn from Colorado back to Southern California. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.
Texas, who is this? Oh! Oh, shit! Holy moly.